It's a wonderful thing that you're here banging around. It's a wonderful thing that you're sifting through contrast. You intended to do that. You said, from your non-physical vantage point, I will send a part of my consciousness into a physical environment, and I will sift and come to new conclusions all day, every day. And when a new desire is born within me, I prefer that, I prefer that, I prefer that. Even if you are one-celled organism, when you prefer, you emanate that rocket, and the source energy, counterpart, soul, source, spirit, God of you, becomes the vibrational equivalent of that and holds forevermore until you amend it further through life, that vibrational place marker for you to catch up to. In other words, like a beaming signal, a guiding light, so that you can feel your way into alignment. So when you're rude, you're out of alignment. Even if you're just being rude back, you're still out of alignment. When you're rude, you're out of alignment because the source within you never is. When you aren't loving, you're out of alignment because the source within you always is. So then humans say, oh, Abraham, give me a break. Esther said it many, many times. You got to be kidding, Abraham. You're going to stand there in your cloud and you're going to love that behavior? And we say, we didn't say that we would love that behavior. We would say we focus only in a way that allows us to radiate love. Because we know that in every behavior, there's another side of the bounce. We know that when a kid in high school is bullied and 3 or 4 bigger guys put his head in the toilet in the locker room, we know that both the one being drowned in the toilet and the ones doing the drowning are out of their vortex. And we know that in all of that behavior, whether you are the victim or the victimizer, that you are launching rockets of desire, because no one becomes a victimizer who isn't standing in a place of vulnerability for which they are trying to compensate with this arrogant behavior. In other words, the one putting the head in the toilet is hurting as bad as the one whose head is being put in the toilet. They are all out of whack. They are all out of sync with the source within them, and they are all launching rockets of desire, and every single one of them became more because of the experience. So the question isn't, should there be bullies? Of course there shouldn't be, but shouldn't anything be allowed in this universe of contrast if you are to choose? Doesn't there have to be something in order to understand what you are really wanting? So the question isn't, should there be bullies, or is there a victim, or is there a victimizer? The question that we want to bring to your mind is, in that experience, was there expansion? And the answer is yes, on the part of everyone who participated in the co-creation. And by the way, no one participates in anything that they're not a vibrational match to. So everybody launched rockets in that. The bullies launched rockets. They want to feel more secure. The one being bullied launched rockets, wants to feel more secure. And the inner being, source, spirit, God of everyone involved in that became better for the experience, more for the experience, more loving, more confident, more secure, more well-being. However, the potential for the gap widened, because every experience that causes who you really are to expand leaves you potentially further from who you really are. If you don't, in your physical form, keep up with you, you're going to feel awful forever. That's why many people come across a philosophy or a process that they call forgiveness. I'm going to forgive the perpetrator of that crime. And we say, really, what that forgiveness is looking at it in a way that doesn't hold you out of the vortex. But there are so many humans that want to proclaim, well, these are the unforgivable things. We'll give them the death penalty on that. We say, oh, you're giving them the ultimate forgiveness and just don't know it. There are things that you say should never be forgiven. And there are things that you say, oh, maybe we could cut them a little slack on that. And we say, as long as humanity, or more important, as long as you as individuals are sorting your life out in terms of just gathering together and trying to define what behavior is right behavior and what behavior is wrong behavior, you're not ever going to even begin to live your life as you intended to be. You don't have a chance of steady, chronic alignment with Source, and therefore you don't have a chance of feeling good most of the time, and you don't have a chance of longevity or wellness of any kind. You don't have a chance of any of that you all came to live unless you are aware of your emotions and understand that your emotions are telling you whether you're keeping up with you or whether you're not. As long as it matters to you that someone else change their behavior to affect the way you feel, you have no control, no steady alignment with who you are, and no sustainable well-being, you see. But when you get that, when you get it, that every time you feel negative emotion, that the object of your attention and your current take on it, in other words, your perspective in the midst of your negative emotion, means this powerful, consistent, law-based thing every time. It means you've got an opinion going on right now that the Source within you does not hold. And we so want you to understand that you just can't defy the opinion of the Source within you. You can't hate instead of love and feel good. Have you noticed how awful hate feels? Now, many humans will say, well, that hate sure felt better than the powerlessness that I felt right before it. We say, well, then it's an improvement. But there's something better than hate, less hate. There's something better than less hate, anger. And there's something better than anger, frustration. There's something better than frustration, hope. And there's something better than hope, belief. And there's something better feeling than belief, and that's knowing. In other words, you just got to release the thoughts that hold you away from who you are, and as you release those thoughts, law of attraction brings you closer and closer and closer to the natural you that you have become. As Source energy, you sent a physical pioneer into this physical life. That's you. Here you are exploring. And here in this physical life, you're sending pioneers forward into your expansion. And the larger part of you is taking it immediately. So everything that we're going to be talking about here today, and everything that your emotions and everyone else's emotions are guiding you about, is the vibrational relationship between where you stand in your current thought, word, and action in relationship with where who you really are stands in regard to the same subject. And if we can convince you about the reality of this vibrational reality, if we can help you to feel the wholeness of who you are, who stands there, and we can give you some paths, some easy paths to releasing your patterns of thought that hold you in resistance to this, your vortex will take you in, and you will begin to receive manifestational avalanches of everything that you've been asking for. Because there is only one thing that is keeping you from the money you want and deserve and have already created, that is in your now reality, real time, present tense. From the relationships that you've already created that exists in your now reality, in this vortex of creation in present tense. The only thing that's keeping you from the bodily conditions that you seek, that you've already created, that are waiting for you in your now reality, are thoughts and patterns, chronic thoughts and expectations that you've picked up along your physical trail, that every time you think them, they feel awful as you think them, but you have come to endure the negative feeling that comes with thoughts like, well, we all decline with age, or sickness is just a part of our experience, or that's all I can expect at this age of life. There are so many bogus, ridiculous thoughts that you've picked up along your physical trail, not understanding the power to create that you possess, but instead observing people who are mostly resistant, watching them decline because they are resistant, but assigning their declining to their age instead of to their resistance. And then you being resistant as you observe them, so you doing it too. In other words, we sort of kind of get why it's easier to say, something unwanted that's happening to me is out of my control. But when you get on the other side of that, when you figure out that nothing is out of your control, that you have the power to focus your mind based upon how the thought feels, how the thought feels, how the thought feels, how the thought feels, until you have practiced yourself chronically into your vortex. We watch you. You try so hard. We've written book after book and given you process after process, and we see you trying. Oh, Abraham, give us another process, and I promise I will do it until I hate it and you too. I will do this process. I will do it. But we want you to understand, you can't buck your own current. In other words, there are things that you try from outside the vortex that just make it worse. Have you noticed? The harder you try, it's sort of like explaining to someone why you want something to be different than it is, and the harder you try to explain, the more they explain that it can't happen that way. The more they explain their opinion is different. It's like we've been having fun pointing out to you. These are money and the law of attraction. These are two really wonderful decks. One is money, one is health. Those are the two primary things that are bothering you in your environment. Relationships is a close third, but money and health, those are the things that most people are fretting the most about. And those are the things that most people have put more in their vortex about. You should see the veritable empires you've created in your vortex of creation. And you should see the fantastic physicality that's waiting for you. You might have to wait until you've been born again to receive the benefit of it, because you're kind of caught up in the way bodies are in this physical time-space reality. So you don't allow yourself to expect the improvements that you could have today if you wanted them. Today, if you wanted them, you've asked for them. It's all queued up. Your cells will cooperate and give it to you. If you could stop beating the drum of what is and release the vibrational patterns of what is, you could have it today. You could have it today. But nevertheless, we talk about this vortex of creation, and it is a vivid reality that we are well aware of, and often you're standing outside of it. Now you know about it, wanting to get in. So you come to a seminar like this and you say, Abraham seems to know what they're talking about. They're loud anyway. So I think I will buy their money and the law of attraction cards, because I need money. I will praise success wherever I see it. Sure I will. If they're praiseworthy, I will. If they're praiseworthy, I will. Most of the people who have money shouldn't have it. Took it away from the rest of us. I am developing the skill to direct my thoughts. Right. I do not need to have money to attract money. Who writes this stuff? It comes not by magic, but by universal law. It's just a different form of magic. I can have money and freedom too. Yeah, right. I can not show up for work, and they'll send my money anyway. Right. So you get the point that we're making. These wonderful cards are not very well received by someone not in the vortex. In fact, if you're not in the vortex and you really want and need money, if you just got that big tax bill or that big whatever it is, and you're reading these cards from your place of concern or worry, these cards are annoying. Because all it does is make you take your stance in defiance and defend. It makes you defend yourself, doesn't it? And you know why? Because you know with every fiber of your being that life is supposed to be working out for you. You know that on many, many levels you are right about who you are, and so you are defensive about what's going on. So we are suggesting that rather than using a tool like this to try to get into the vortex, which often you might have to read through this deck 100 times before you even find anything that you don't argue with if you're outside the vortex. You got the point, didn't you? And aren't you sort of in agreement with it?